Hello, everybody, and we are back for the game segment. A game segment so big I couldn't do this by myself. I've joined one of my good pals, Josh, into the fray, also known as Mekapenguin. How are you today, Josh?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Craig. How are you?
I'm sweaty, I'm hot, I'm sticky, and I'm annoyed with ants at this point. But
Stop
it's
it! You're making me jealous, Craig.
What was it? The ants that sealed the deal for you, was it?
It was the ads, yeah.
It
Fucking love
was. It
those.
was. So I did think that I would get a guest on, probably down the line, but I found out the internet is pretty okay around here. So I got you on to talk about. Let's just say it. Let's put it up front. One of the biggest game releases of last year. Can we both agree with that?
I can agree with that, yeah, 100%. In a
Um,
non-biased opinion at all.
Non-biased. Yeah. So I got you on because we have both completed the game Sonic Frontiers. I completed it back at the beginning of January. When did you finish it?
I think beginning of December, if I remember correctly. I pretty much spent like 2 weeks on it, when I could play it, every day.
Whew, whew. So
As much as possible.
before we talk about it, should we have some background on Sonic and Josh, the blue story?
Well, just that I'm the Sonic fan that everyone knows, I feel like, in our friend group. Yeah, I'm a big Sonic the Hedgehog fan, so I am going to be slightly biased on this. But yeah, I mean, I have played nearly all the games, I think, and completed nearly all of them. There's only been a few I haven't played, and there's only been a few I haven't completed.
What about fan
But I
games?
generally-
Are you big into them?
I've tried a few of them. Yeah, so I played the newest one, which was it was all done in Unreal Engine, and they got a lot of backlash because of the studio that made it said that they weren't, because it's meant to, all fan games are meant to be free to play. That's how like Sega gets away with not letting them to use the IP, but without without ruining the fun.
Yeah,
But
not making
apparently
money
the
off our
company that did
property.
it started charging people on like Patreon and all that kind of stuff. There was a whole big, and then the guy apparently, I think, something like ran away with all the money or something like that. It's like ridiculous. But yeah, I played a few of them, and some of them are good, some of them are not, as I think most fan games are. But I think the ideas are there for sure.
Okay. So let's talk about Sonic Frontiers. I will preference that. I've played lots of Sonic games throughout my time as well, and I do enjoy them. However, I am not a rose-tinted glasses person. I know when a bad game is a bad game. So do with that what you will. So Sonic Frontiers is a bit of a different take on the Sonic formula because it's open world, but it's not just one open world, it's multiple like regions, I suppose, or zones. And you're just free to whiz around with Sonic at your own behest and collect all these goodies and unlock all this other stuff too. So what was your biggest surprise with this Sonic game compared to the traditional Sonic games that you've played?
Honestly, it'd be like the boss battles is what I would say. I like the idea of having like loads of little mini bosses all throughout like the world, and then having like a really big boss at the end that kind of solidifies it. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
For that region, because I think like the combat system in it it's okay. Like it's not amazing. But it is nice that I think they spent a lot of time on each enemy where you have to use a different style to defeat them in each one. Whereas in like other games, normally it's just like you do the same rinse and repeat attacks over and over. Whereas I think they did try at least with this to make it a bit different.
Yeah, the usual Sonic is jump on the head. Okay, their head's protected. Now jump and attack their bottom part. And
Yeah,
here
exactly.
that they've thought a bit more about it. The mini bosses all throughout the level that are a good touch. My first criticism, however, is when you accidentally get locked into a boss battle in the open world, it can be a bit of annoying to get loose of them because you're just like I can't physically, I'm not fast enough to catch up with you right now. And it was specifically the flying boss where it creates a tail and you've got to jump on the tail and like speed
Yeah.
towards him. I think if you haven't put any of your stats into speed at that point, you can't catch up with him, and it
Oh,
is just.
really?
Well, I really had trouble with that boss, that mini
But
boss.
I'm confused. Why did you not put your stats straight into speed? Because that's
I
exactly what I did. It was just straight away. I was like, speed, speed.
that is what I did. I did do that. And the rings, I was like, I can already get 400 rings straight off the bat. Why would I need more? That seems like a lot. That's what. Um,
Yeah.
so getting out of a boss battle can be a bit problematic because it feels like the music changes, the camera is focused on their energy bar, and you can't shake loose of it. So that was a real
Yeah.
problem I had
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
early on. Um, but the open world itself, I just it felt good going fast all around those worlds. Did you find that too?
It's so. Yeah, I mean, it's so nice to have a Sonic game where I feel like you can go fast
Yeah.
and not have to be like in a certain area to go really fast or anything like that. With this, you can just be like, cool, I just want to boost all the time, and you can, and it's so nice. It's such a good feeling.
And there's certain points where you just have unlimited boost and you can just go and go and go, and it feels so good. That's sort of the problem I had with the earlier like Sonic Heroes, Sonic Adventure games, is that just those death falls when you just go off a cliff and go into an abyss. They never felt satisfying,
Yeah.
but here it felt good to go
No.
fast. And it's
Yeah, it did. I mean, I think with like previous games as well, where they've tried it, like with like Sonic 06, I think it was like the first game where they were like, okay, we'll have this actual zone where you can go as fast as you want, and that felt good. It's just a shame the rest of that game was a pile of rubbish.
yes.
So you had like 3 levels which were like, oh my god, this is amazing, and everything else, not so good.
Did you
Whereas with this, yeah.
I was going to say, did you hear that apparently they had a build of that Sonic 06 game and then it got lost or deleted or corrupted and then they had to go back to a previous one and that's why it was so jank and broken? Did you hear that rumour?
I didn't know, but that would actually make so much sense. Like, I mean, there's so much stuff that's broken in that game. I mean, it's basically an unfinished game.
Yes.
And then, whereas like game companies now, they're just like day one patch. They're like, yeah, sure, we'll just put that in. And they're just like, we can't be fucked. We're just not gonna do it. But like, well, the game's fine. People will buy it. Who cares?
Yeah, they're idiots. The thing with like Sonic Frontiers, it's just such a simple concept. Let's just let Sonic go fast and give him a playground of stuff to do. And when you have that open world itself, it does seem a bit strange because there were quite a few collectibles around the world, and I don't think it's going to be as good as a Breath of the Wild or something of that caliber.
No, of
But
course not.
what I was finding is that like there's one collectible medal that I couldn't get to, and then you find yourself just backtracking, and that is part of the puzzle in the open world that I don't think a lot of other games do because of the quick pace that Sonic has. And it really made me think like that they've actually given some thought into this open world design, albeit there is a bit of
yeah,
jank.
100%.
Yeah.
The open world itself is just. I mean, I love how they've connected all the rails. So like as you get further into the game, you can then speed through certain bits using the long rails that they have.
Yes.
But even that, you can tell they've kind of thought about the placements of where each one goes, and like, okay, right, we need this one to stop here. We'll do like a. Everything seems to be very thought out in the kind of open world side.
Yes. And even though technically that is fast travel, you can unlock separate fast travel where you highlight on the map and select it that way. And
Did you ever use it?
I used it to get to some of the more questionable places. I think there is We'll get to it in a bit, I'm sure. But one of the Big the Cat's fishing bits sections
Oh, yeah.
is just way off of a map, and you've got to go underground and like go through this tunnel. And I always, to do a bit of fishing, I would use that. And I was so surprised at how quickly it loaded as well. I was like, "This is nothing like Sonic 06. How how have they done this?"
No, absolutely.
Did you
They
ever
actually
use
spent
the
time on
fast?
it, Craig. That's the difference.
Did you use any of the fast travel?
Yes, same as you, pretty much. It was like for Big the Cat because his ones were always in a weird area, and I think I occasionally used it for some levels, but basically I didn't really want to. It's a bit like Breath of the Wild, really. I don't ever want to fast travel. I like the kind of going through the places because I always feel like you find something new as you're like opening, like traveling through the world.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's these because it is so fun to travel through that world with pace. You do just find yourself losing losing track of stuff. Like there are loads of medals and collectibles and stuff like that in every world. And because you are going so fast, sometimes you need to stop, take stock, and then go back to find them that way. It is the Ubisoft model of here is a blank slate, fill it in, and I feel like I really like open world games in that vein. And when it's Sonic, I feel more inclined to go and fill that in. So the first thing I usually did was unlock everything on the map, get really powered up, and then when I got to the boss battles, I was overpowered and just beat them really easily, and it really made me laugh. I enjoyed doing it that way. How did you approach it?
I think try to make it as balanced as possible, honestly. So I think with all the little, I can't remember what the little creatures are called that you have to find. Is it like the
Oh,
cuckoos or something like that?
yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I would generally do like, okay, right, I'm gonna put 5 into speed, then 5 into rings, 5 into speed, 5 into rings. So I've had most boss battles pretty even generally. I think I only struggled with one, and that's just because I didn't understand the mechanic of the boss battle when
Hmm.
I first did it, which was the one where you have to like grab his the disc that he throws at you
Yeah.
and throw it back at him. And I just completely misunderstood that mechanic. Went in with like no rings and just died straight away. And I was like, "What have I done? What am I meant to be doing?"
Yes, it's
But
there's like the if it's not the they don't want you to perfectly time it in some instances for the fighting mechanics because I feel like they knew it wasn't that sort of game, and the boss fights sort of
yeah, I did.
exacerbate that sometimes.
I think the parry could have been slightly more harder, if that makes sense. Because I feel like you could just do it whenever, and it would always parry. And it's kind of like with other games, you have to have like a slight timing. It's like if you don't parry within like a certain zone, it doesn't work.
Yes,
As where with the Sonic one, it was kind of like if I just hold it now, it will always parry, and it was kind of like I wish like they changed that sort of it. But again, I guess these games are more made for kids rather than nearly 30-year-old adults.
but then
So
when you have like you do different challenges to unlock different parts of the map, when you have that in place, and one of them is just block this wave coming towards you, and all you've got to do is hold down the block button 3 times. It makes it really
yeah,
like why do I need to like it's almost like why sort of do you know what I mean?
no, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I liked most of the kind of mini adventure things that they had in it, like the little mini games that you had to do. But there was some where I was just like, I don't. Again, if the parry had like a timer to it, I think it would make more sense.
Yeah.
But because it doesn't, that one was particularly was just like, cool, I'll just hold block. Okay, but you're doing nothing basically.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Whereas like some of the other ones, it was like, okay, cool, you got to get to this part within like a certain time limit, and I was like, okay, cool, that's fun. Um,
With
and I think the did you like they had like the hoops one as well, which I quite enjoyed. Because that depended on like what angle you hit the ball at, and that was a bit more fun.
I feel like the balls one itself was the most challenging out of all of them, because it was a lot of trial and error
Mm.
of at what angle do you hit them at and what angle can you try to get them. Um,
Yeah,
when I first started, for those of you who don't know, you're Sonic and you have to hit the ball into a hoop, and the the problem I faced with the first ball and hoop was that I couldn't get it lined up. By the end, I was smashing multiple balls in like I think it gets to 6 or 8, and you just bam, 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 done. Like it really helps you like learn that sort of stuff, which I thought was very helpful. Um, but there isn't just the open world. There are classic Sonic levels, which are your typical 3D sort of Sonic adventure. You'll start at A, you need to get to B, and you can fall off the edges, you can die. They also do flashbacks to classic 2D Sonic stages because everyone loves that, and even Sega knows we need to put that stuff in there now. And there's also like they were more like challenge levels more than anything because they were very short and snappy. They were very few and far between, but it was things like you need to get 30 rings in this stage that only has 40 rings, so basically you can't get hit or anything like that. How did you find them, the classic sort of levels that weren't in the open world?
I there's probably my biggest like hate of the game, strangely. Not because they were bad. I loved the levels itself. But I think when you're comparing it to like actual other like Sonic games like Sonic Generations and stuff like that, the challenges I felt was way too easy.
Hmm.
So like finding all 5 red rings. Normally, like if I'm playing Sonic Generations or something like that, I would never do that because I can't find them. I don't know where they are half the time. And I don't know if that's just because the levels are a bit bigger generally, so they have more places to hide them and all that kind of stuff. But I did find, sometimes like 1 in every 5 levels, I could easily 100% it in one go. Get all
Yeah.
5 rings, get all the rings you need, get the speed one. There was very few I struggled on, and I think I would have liked a bit more because they are meant to be like challenges in a percent. It would be nice for them to be a little bit harder. But the level design, perfect. Like it was fun. It was fun to do. I just felt it was too easy.
There was one level specifically that stuck out with me as bad, mechanic wise, where you're behind the back of Sonic, you're a little bit lower down, and you've just got to go like it almost was like a car drifting mechanic where you had to steer Sonic, and it didn't feel like
Yeah.
him. In the end, it's the only time he controlled like that in the whole game, and I was like, why have they
Well,
done it this way?
it was a weird mechanic because I think like because they've done drifting before in other games, so I'm not shocked that it's in there. But it was more the sense it was one level and
Hmm.
only one, and it was nowhere else to be seen. I was kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like,
You've got
yeah,
no
and it was weird.
incentive to get good, like because why it's just one and done. There's no real reason to try and excel yourself there because it doesn't appear in any other part of the game. It's very very strange. Um,
Yeah, it's an odd thing. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that maybe because we got all the updates, haven't we, coming out in the next few months to a year. Maybe they'll try and add it into that, but I mean, at this point, I can't imagine so.
do you? I've looked at the updates and the roadmap they have ahead. It doesn't seem that much like a live service game, but I'm still not really inclined to go back to it and probably look at those things. Are you at all?
I think the last one I will be because it's a brand new ending.
Oh, okay.
And I think stuff like that I definitely will be into, but like extra collectibles and little gimmicks here and there, no, nah. But the big stuff, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But they don't come out till like I think it's August or July, so I got a while away.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's very strange for me with like single player games like that because it's like if they do anything substantial, picking it back up and trying to control it again might feel a bit foreign. The just the one thing I really struggled getting to grips with is that for every 3D Sonic game, the it's always been jump and then homing attack on the same button, and this is the game they decided to switch it up, and it took me a good half hour to an hour to get used to that. Did you have the same thing, or were you better at that?
Generally, no, I don't think I had any issues.
Oh,
really.
look at you!
I mean,
Look
as
at
soon as you
you!
get there, yeah, well, you know. I think there was one move in particular. Well, once I've got it, I think it was like you jump and then it just like shoots like loads of rays
Yeah, yeah.
out. As soon as I had that, that was pretty much all I ever used because it was
Uh,
just so simple to be like, okay, jump, cool, all the enemies are dead, perfect, let's move on.
the one hint I will give to anyone who hasn't played it yet is you can make a trail and it closes a circle. Um, any time or just on any map, if you do that, rings will come out of the ground, like 9 times out of 10. So if you've got 0 rings, just do that move and things will happen. And I think they're about
And
that
if
vague with it as well.
on another secret tip, if you do an infinity sign while doing your trail, you get infinity boost for a little while.
Oh, okay, okay, interesting. Um,
So yeah, it's like a nice little mechanic they put in, which was lovely because it means you can just
um,
boost forever.
How did you find the end stage bosses? So, like when you go supersonic, how did you find them?
So the first one, absolutely loved it. I think it was one of the best battles I've ever had in a while from a Sonic game, because it was just so new. I think from a Sonic perspective, loved that. And then I feel like it started to get repetitive, if that kind of makes sense. So the more you did it, yeah, they did try and change it a little bit and all that kind of stuff, but it kind of lost its funness. I wish they'd done something a little bit more different with each one.
Okay, no,
Um, would you agree? Or
yeah, yeah, I think I agree. They really went hard for the this is a big kaiju battle sort of feeling, um,
yeah,
and the majority of the time is can I defeat this boss before all my rings deplete? And the more challenge is trying to get it in and figure it out before the rings deplete rather than the challenge of the boss itself, I think is how I would put my
yeah,
feelings in
it's
it.
more the timing.
Yeah.
How did you
Um,
find about the last battle?
could you refresh my
Without any
memory?
real spoilers, the
No.
bullet hell.
Oh, uh, I that was the boss.
How did you think of that? Because yeah,
It was it's the one that gave me the most jip I found. But I think from my perspective, they wanted to go all out and they wanted to just have so many things happening on the screen at once rather than um, knowing everything you've learned up to this point. And it seemed a bit out of place given the rest of the game. But I think out of all the bosses, that was the one that gave me the most just aggro, but not in a real challenging way. If you under the times I died was because it was
yeah, no,
more of a cheap bullet hitting me rather than actual anything of a challenge. Were you the same?
I mean, I like Bullet Hell games, so for me, I was just like, yeah, this is fun. I just again, same as you. I think it just felt really out of place. And I mean, like again, go back to like the drifting. It was kind of like a one and done. It's kind
Hmm.
of weird. I think if it was done a bit more, then yeah, I could kind of see the idea of it. But it was yeah, a little bit odd.
Yeah,
But I enjoyed it. I like Bullet Hell games, so for me, yeah, I just finished it and I was like, cool, that was fun.
yeah,
But yeah, it didn't feel very Sonic-y for an ending.
yes, yes. Shall we have a quick talk about story? Uh, let's put up some spoiler tags here. Just in case we do spoil anything. I know people do get a bit weird about Sonic stories, but let's just have a quick. I've got a few questions for you.
Go for it.
So I really thought the story was going to take place in like a virtual world or something like that, and I was shocked when that was not the case. Um, did you see that happening as well, or how do you did your story? Were you happy with the way it played out?
Um, I don't think I ever thought it was in a virtual world. I think only because I think you knew like like Eggman was in his own virtual world at the same time. I didn't feel like they'll do one or the other.
Hmm.
Um, but as story goes, yeah, I mean it's nice to. it was nice to have a game that related to all the other games. Like it kind of connected all the other games to this one.
Hmm.
So they talked about stuff in like Sonic Adventure. They talked about stuff in like Sonic, Generations and all that kind of stuff. And it was quite a nice touch. But the actual story was very much each world had its kind of just like, yeah, I'm trapped. Oh no, come get me. And it was a bit like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was
But
seeing
generally,
Amy go, we need to reunite these people, and then like these long cut scenes of these old, like just stone creatures reconnecting. I wasn't really that interested in, particularly. So it was.
the only thing I'm curious about is it because they look like Chaos from Sonic Adventure One.
I thought that too. Yeah.
Um, and I don't know if there's any relation to it. I mean, I've not looked it up. I've not really, but they haven't mentioned it at all in the game. So I was a bit like, I don't know. Like, am I meant to feel like this, or is it just poor choice of design?
It could be something where they did that on purpose, don't reference it, but in the future they could always come back to it if they want, I suppose. But I think Chaos is a bit old hat at this moment in time in the Sonic sort of story. Um,
Yeah.
so, but the thing it was weird to me is like Sonic is the only playable character, and everyone else has like this sort of virtual haze over them, and then all of the sudden, just Big the Cat is there, and it's my favourite ongoing joke that Big the Cat just shows up everywhere. But why is he the only like real person in the universe that Sonic can interact with? It feels like Sonic might be in hell if the only person he can talk to is Big the Cat, and I, for one, am here for it.
Oh God, yeah. You gotta love Big the Cat. Like, I remember watching a Sonic conference a good few years back, and all people wanted to know was when's Big Cat coming back, and they were like, "Oh, soon. We'll put him back in soon." And now they finally have, and it's like, yes,
Yes.
perfect.
Oh, so is there any other thoughts or feelings you have on Sonic Frontiers?
I'm interested to know about the updates because, of course, as you were saying, Sonic is the only playable character, but they are bringing new playable characters into it in the new updates. Um, so I'm interested to know how that works. Um, I think it's more, yeah, seeing how that develops as a game with all these new updates. Um, but generally, as just like a overall game, no, I pretty much loved it. I think it's the last Sonic game in a long time where I've smiled while playing it. Like I play a lot of these Sonic games and I like them, but half the time I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm done with that now. Um, Whereas this one, I was kind of like, oh, I actually like doing this. This is a fun game, and once I finished the game, I was like, cool, I'm gonna go back and quickly just finish off all the extra collectibles and all this kind of stuff. And I think I'm like 3 trophies away from platinum, which I'm just like, I will do that at some stage. I haven't had the time yet, but soon, hopefully.
Yeah, no,
How about yourself?
I'm one to agree. It's very strange. The last time I felt this good about a Sonic game was Sonic Generations, and
Same.
then Sonic Forces came out, and the less said about that, the better. But we're
I'm so disappointed with Forces.
it's and
So annoyed.
they just, yeah, we could get into a whole thing about this in the future, but that is, I want to speak to someone who was on that game and see what they were doing, because it's very strange to me what went on with that game. But Sonic Frontiers itself is a very good game. I can't believe I said that about an actual Sonic game, because I thought there was no hope left in the world.
It's finally happened.
um, what I finished the game, I, like yourself, I had a really good time with it, and they obviously took inspiration from Breath of the Wild, and I am interested to see what they will do in the next Sonic game, and I hope they learn from it and don't take the wrong things away, and they just enhance and make the good things even better, and make even better mechanics that will make the game more fun, more than anything. But um, I would recommend Sonic Frontiers if you're a fan of Sonic or if you're a fan of open world games. I think it's an easy thing to recommend.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be back with what we've been playing and some news. And we are back. We talked about Sonic for a little bit, so let's just quickly talk about what we've been playing this week. There is a game called Hi-Fi Rush, a rhythm action adventure game I mentioned last week. I have now finished it, and it's very good. Very good game indeed. Much like Sonic Heroes that we mentioned yesterday, you find out that the real power is the power of friendship.
No. Surely not.
I would recommend that. It feels PS2 era, but in a good way, and I don't think we've gotten anything like that in a while. So Hi-Fi Rush is a recommend, and I also played a bit of a different game. It's called Sackboy's A Big Adventure, which is a 3D platformer. It was initially a PS5 release game. I've been playing it on the old Steam Deck, and I tell you, it's a very well made 3D platformer game. If you like, we were talking about Sonic, Jak and Daxter, and I'm not saying it's like Super Mario, but it has a world map and it's got good intricate levels with good collectibles, and it plays very well. If you played Little Big Planet, you remember they had the floaty jump. That's definitely gone now, and it feels more responsive. So, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, also a recommend if you're into 3D platformers. Josh, what have you been playing? Anything controversial?
So Hogwarts Legacy is what I've been playing since that came out, 3 days ago? 4 days ago?
Okay.
And yeah, I've only played about 3 hours of it so far. I haven't really had the time to dig deep into it yet. But yeah, I've enjoyed it so far. Yeah, it's good. It's good fun. Like,
my question for you.
And that's about it, really.
My question for you is, why do you hate transgender people?
I do not. I do feel like, I mean, of course, don't support the author. That's that's a whole different thing. But I do feel like the game company itself have made big waves to try and make this as like kind of like an FU to J.K. Rowling, really. Yeah. And it's nice. It was nicely done. It's and it's just nice to have a game that I can play it, and you can do lots of lots of changes to yourself. Like if you want to be trans in the game, you can. It's perfect. They've got a trans character you meet pretty early on. I've heard there is some hate about that, but I'm not too sure why. It's got something to do with her name, but I haven't really looked up into it. But yeah, generally, I think the game company itself has done an amazing job, and I shouldn't hate a game company for something an author did, because at the end of the day, it's just IP.
Yeah. So my personal feelings are that I've never really been interested in Harry Potter, so this game was not really on my radar regardless. I from the franchise perspective, I've only enjoyed the first Fantastic Beasts film, and like you say, J.K. Rowling is not a very nice person, and it's just a minefield of things because hundreds of people worked on this game taking reference. So if you get the game, you're technically giving her money, and you don't want to give her money because she's not a very nice person. My advice would just be try and buy the game secondhand. That's all I could say really. But it's good to know you're enjoying it. Perhaps next week or so you can just send me in a little clip giving me your further impression hours in. Does that sound alright?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Very good. Should we jump into a quick bit of news?
Sure, let's do it.
So there's this thing called a Nintendo Direct happened, and I think out of all of our friends, you are the biggest Nintendo fan, and I will not be heard otherwise. Okay,
Yeah, suck
that
it, Neil.
that is the
Yep, let's
gospel.
go.
Um, so, do you know much about the Nintendo Direct? Did anything stand out to you at
Oh,
all?
I did a quick Google search on it, just quickly
Yeah.
get updated on it. I think for me, the two big things is Metro Prime Remastered
Okay. Yep.
um, and Breath of the Wild, of course.
Of course.
I feel like everything else in there was just not for me personally.
Okay.
Um,
No, I think
Yourself?
so. The Metroid Prime remaster. People looked back and found that they got a age rating about 18 months ago. So that has been on their back burner for some time, just waiting to drop. Um, and it is one of my games that I have not got to, and I'm really looking forward to playing it because I hear it is a good old time. Um,
No,
with
same. I've never played it before, so I'm really looking forward to jumping in onto it.
Yeah, and the Zelda, it's coming out. What is it? The 12th of May, um,
Yep.
and I I assume we'll get another direct before then. But I thought it was just another teaser trailer, and it showed that we're probably going to make some vehicles of some sort, like a nuts and bolts Banjo Kazooie style. Um, but I thought I just wanted a bit more, perhaps some gameplay or something a bit different. But there was hints like the vehicles or um, Link's arm being metal-like. So from me, I would have just liked a bit more. I don't know how you felt about that.
I didn't watch any of the trailers. I just again just did a quick Google search on it, just to catch up because our less Nintendo friend told me it was one of the best ones he'd seen in forever. So I thought I would catch up very quickly. But yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it.
Okay.
But if it is like nuts and bolts, I don't know if I'll be too much of a fan of that. If I'm being honest.
No, no, that's
I never
that's
quite like the idea of having to make something myself. I just want something
mhm.
pre-made.
Yes. My hope is that they make it so that there are stuff there. If it is a build your vehicle sort of thing, there are good templates there that you can build upon if you want. You don't want to go down to that sort of thing. I assume we will see lots of hacks and stuff and like all these different things that you see like in Breath of the Wild anyway. So it'll be interesting. Um, I did write down most of the stuff from the direct, but I think we should just touch on things that we may be interested in. So, Mario Kart DLC, they're actually going to put in characters as well as tracks, and they're starting off with Birdo. You a big Birdo fan?
Who isn't Craig? um, Again, don't have the Mario Kart game, so it's not something that's
Oh, mate,
on my
mate, it's so
radar.
good. It's
Really,
so good. It's so
I
good.
know, but like I got it on Wii U, and I just don't
Oh,
wanna buy it again, even though everyone else has.
this isn't a Nintendo way.
But I like this is the Nintendo way. It's how many times can we make the same game on every console
Yes.
until people stop buying it?
Yes.
Mario Kart 8 was the first one where I was like, no, I
No.
finished it. I don't really have any need to play it again. The new courses and again new characters that are coming out. It sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Is that one free with the subscription thing as well?
Yes, Nintendo Switch Online, which big news from that. Did you know that you can now play Game Boy games if you have Nintendo Switch Online, which is
I did, yeah.
it's the titles they have on there are quite good. I don't think there is. See, they've got what do they have? They've got the SNES and the NES, and then they've got N64. and now they've added Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. But Game Boy Advance
Don't
games,
forget the Mega Drive.
the Mega Drive as well. Yep. If you're paying that extra little bit and getting that expansion pack, you can get the Game Boy Advance games. Um, I've been playing Game Boy Advance games on a different handheld for quite a while now, so the the interest for me is lessened. But playing them online with friends is very good, a very good move, I think, on Nintendo's part. Um, so
What games are online?
exactly, exactly. That's what I thought too. But apparently, you can play some Game Boy Advance multiplayer games through their online game thing. So
Have they
um,
switched up the link cable then to just
yeah,
online?
I think that's what it is. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is kind of cool. I'll give them credit where it's due. Uh,
Um,
it's a good
but
idea.
the problem I find is that Nintendo are probably just going to stick to their own back catalogue and not add any third party. And the third party Game Boy Advance games was some of the really good stuff by the end of that system, and you can't tell me otherwise. Um,
No, wouldn't dream of it, Craig.
Pikmin 4 releases in July. That's a great
I hate
month,
Pikmin.
but Pikmin 4, Pikmin's not for me. So
Nope,
I
same.
don't know what to tell you.
I've tried it so many times and I just hate it. And I know people will give me hate for that, but I just can't
You're,
stand it.
you're the biggest Nintendo fan I know. You can't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry, but you have to hate one product from Nintendo, right? You can't be the biggest fan unless you hate something.
Exactly, exactly. You got to know when to pick your battles.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yep.
so the other things we'll quickly touch on is they are making a We Love Katamari remaster, re-release. You know, they're not building it from the ground up, from what I can see. This is the second Katamari game, and I'm excited for that because Katamari is one of the best games I've ever played. So, and that soundtrack is mwah, mwah, mwah. Um, so good for that. Do you like Katamari at all?
I've only played a little bit of it
Oh,
personally. It's one of the games I've really wanted to play because when I did play it, it was fun.
yeah.
I've just never got round to buying it and then playing it because it's on PS Vita as well. And
Hmm.
I was always like, oh, I should buy that on PS Vita, and then just never picked up my Vita.
Okay.
So,
It's just pure
but one
fun,
day,
pure delight. I would recommend it. Recommend it. Um, there are just a few other quick bits I'll touch on. Is that Dead Cells is getting Castlevania DLC? That looks really, really good. They're doing a Bayonetta spin-off, and it doesn't look anything like Bayonetta. And I'm very, very much questioning what are they even doing with that.
it
Um,
confused me the other day because I saw it and I was like, and it said Bayonetta. I was like, what? And I was like, it's like a 2D platform. I was like, what?
mhm.
What?
Yeah,
So I am so confused.
how she became a witch. You know, that story that everyone really cares about. Um, there is a Disney game called Disney Illusion Island. It looks like one of the Disney Mickey's Treehouse style, so it's a 2D platformer, but the animation on it looks really, really, really good, animation wise. And you can share a hug to get your health back up. And I don't think I've ever seen that in a game,
Oh,
and that just made me smile because that's just a really good mechanic, really, isn't it? um, but and
good for
if you're
lonely people then.
exactly, and they teased the new Professor Layton. So if you're into Professor Layton, he's back. Good for that. Um,
Cool.
but yeah, it was a good direct. Lots of bizarre games, like Zamba de Amigo coming back, or like, when you just think we've run out of games to name now, like Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time. Like, what does that even mean? What does that even? That is some anime ass name, if you ask me. And guess what? It is an anime game.
Yeah.
um,
Are you out of interest? Are you a big fan of anime games? Like,
Uh,
because they vary so much.
yeah. Persona. Persona is probably the best from a style perspective for me, and I
Yep.
I feel like I don't really play a lot of JRPGs in my life anymore, so I don't really have that sort of thing going for me. So it's quite hard. But I still want to play um, Aegis Rim, 13 Sentinels.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard good things
Yeah,
about 13 Sentinels.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I want to get. But I feel like if you're in that anime life, you already know what's a good one and what's not so good one. Do you agree? What sort of anime stuff are you into?
Yeah. Again, I don't really play that many anime games. I find them because most of them are JRPGs, and I just don't have the time for them. If I'm being honest, I mean, one of the ones I did play was Persona, and I would agree with you on that. I think it's one of the best anime games I've played in a long time.
But does
And
Genshin
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Impact not count as a anime game?
I mean, it probably does, to be honest. Fair. And if you don't know, I play Genshin Impact every day for the last 3 years at this point. I think it is now.
Every time you say that,
Still
it
in a
makes me
bit.
laugh, and I don't know why.
It's just a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably count that as an anime game. That probably does. That probably counts as my only real anime game I play.
Okay.
If you can see Klee in the background, I've got a figure of Klee from Genshin Impact.
You like your anime, but
But
anime games not so much. It's understandable.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think most of them are just not. I think most of them are either visual novels, which is it's a lot of words and a lot of reading, and I don't really have the patience to do it.
Hmm.
Or it goes down the JRPG route, which again is they're so long, and I'm finding myself, struggling with time. I just don't have the time to do it anymore. So unless there's a game that is particularly interesting and good, yeah, I just don't want to play it basically.
I agree. I agree. But there is a place for them, but just not in my life or my lifestyle currently. And I think you're the same.
No, same.
Um, so before we let you go, Josh, let's say that is the end of the news. I had this
Okay.
idea that every time I have someone on, we will put a game into the Hall of Fame. So this is the Craig Bandicoot Guests Hall of Fame. Um, we will focus on one game together. We will have to come to a consensus of this game that needs to go into the Hall of Fame. We will base it
Okay.
upon your likings, and for this episode, we are going to focus on Sonic the Hedgehog. Does that sound cool with you?
Good choice. Yep, it's fine by me.
Okay, so for me, the first thing to filter it down easily is because there's loads of Sonic games. The thing that we need to decide: do we want a 2D Sonic game or a 3D Sonic game?
Oh, I
It,
mean, I'm going to be slightly controversial. I probably prefer the 3D games compared to the 2D ones.
okay, okay,
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the 2D ones. I probably had more fun with the 3D ones.
okay, okay,
And I think if you do 2D, you're limiting yourself to 1, 2, 3 or Origins. No, not Origins. Mania.
okay. So,
Because 4 didn't exist at all. Let's just forget 4 happened.
oh yeah, that was. I was so excited for that one. It was so disappointing. Um,
um,
so I thought if this conversation went down the 2D route, I would have
yep.
really, really fought hard for Sonic Advance 2 because I think that is the perfect Sonic game. Like of speed and gameplay themselves. Like that game is, in my opinion, probably the best Sonic games to just nail it. With
So I would almost agree with you. I
almost
think it's second or third in my opinion. I think Sonic Rush is the best 2D game. Honestly,
okay, okay, no, that's a
it's
good
the
game.
best. It's. I think for me, it was the one I had the most fun in a long time. When I was playing on the DS, and it's the only one when I got rid of my DS. As soon as I got a DS back, it's the first game I bought straight away.
Nice.
Um, But I
The
think I love the idea of like having two screens and the idea of
mhm,
the characters going up and down between them. The boost mechanic that I always felt didn't feel very good in like 3D games early on
mhm.
felt really fun in Rush, and it was nice to see like a two-way story, like a bit like Sonic Adventure 2, where you had two storylines kind of coming together at the end. Um,
Yes.
but Sonic Advance 2 as well is it's up there for sure.
The irritating thing about Sonic Rush is that no matter how you try to emulate it, even if you've got two screens, it just doesn't play out as good as you would like it to. Like you need that original hardware, and that is something
Yeah.
that I think makes it a bit of an issue as we get further and further along into Nintendo's life. Um, but with 3D Sonic games, I haven't really given it much thought. You are the guest. Let's
Did you honestly thought you was like, oh, he's gonna go 2D straight away? I don't even
mate.
have to think about this. Like,
It's like when people
I'm
ask me my
sorry,
favorite
I'm
Sonic
a
game,
weird.
just there.
Yeah, I'm a slightly weirder Sonic fan. I would agree with that. I'm not. I mean, again, love the 2D ones, but again, I probably played the 3D ones way more. Um, if we're going down the 3D route, because we've done 2D now,
Yeah, yeah. Let's go for
um,
it.
let's do it because I think we both said favorite 2D game. Favorite 3D game? Ooh, probably. Oh, that's a good. I really enjoyed. I think Generations has to be number one, no matter what. I feel
Okay,
like, and I think it's either that or Sonic Adventure 2 for me.
okay.
Um, as a 3D game, I think I've heard really good things about Sonic Unleashed on different consoles. And I played it on PS3, and apparently the way to play it is on PS2 or Wii, I think it is.
That's
I can't
weird.
remember which one it is. But yeah, it's because they have different levels for each console, strangely. Um, so I have heard most people's favorite is Sonic Unleashed because of the way it plays, but I never really enjoyed it when I played it.
Okay.
You can forget Forces, that was just disappointment. Um, '06, nah, forget it. Yeah, Generations. I would probably say Generations.
So, a lot of what makes a good podcast is clashing opinions and getting
Yeah,
some sort of conversation going around that. But I think it's too early to say that Sonic Frontiers is one of the top tier Sonic games. Maybe in a few years we can revisit and see. But I think
yeah,
Sonic Generations is the right pick here, because not only do you have the just the the nostalgia for all the Sonic stuff, but they do it right. They play upon what makes Sonic good, and even though you've got the 3D and the 2D stages themselves, it is just a good time, and I feel like they nailed what they were going for. And as we both know, that's not always the case with Sonic, is it? So, fair play.
no, not at all. Yeah, I
No.
think Frontiers will be. I think if they continue on that route, I think there will be a game very soon that will rival it easily. I think Frontiers is definitely up there for me, but I think it's a bit too soon to tell at the moment. I think I'm with you on that.
Yeah, no. I thought we were going to have a really long talk about this, and nope, there you go.
Well, we could have So we got the two. So 2D games. Let's go with Sonic Advance 2
Okay,
because I'm happy with that as like a
yep,
because I do agree with you. It is a fun 2D game.
yep.
Um, and yeah, I do remember playing it for hours on my Game Boy Advance. Compared to other Sonic games. Like I mean, I got Origins on the day, and I still don't think I've completed Sonic One yet on it because it's just like it's fun, but it's so done to death at this point that
I
it's
don't.
hard
I
to.
didn't really understand the hype because these are just games that have already been available for ages, and like you can play them in browsers as well. Like, why was everyone getting so
Well,
hyped
so
about them?
the hype was Sonic 3 because we
Oh,
haven't had an official release of Sonic 3 in years
but it didn't even have the good music.
because of the whole. No, well, they had to get rid of it. That's the point
Yeah.
because it was made by Michael Jackson, and of course all the copyright thing, and that's why we haven't had it. So having an actual, new update with that, and I do like in Origins, like they've made it easier to do, like Chaos Emeralds and all that kind of stuff. Because like especially in like Sonic One, I always found the special stages pain, absolute pain.
Hmm.
Could never do
Hmm.
them. It's always like it takes like you need like 4 or 5 goes before you understand what you're doing with it. Um, and with this, it's just like, oh yeah, do you want to start again? And I'm like, yeah, perfect. Um, so I think I think it's one of the best ports of it we've had in a very long time of Sonic 1, 2, and 3. Um, but yeah, again, it's just been done to death. I've played it so many times now. It's kind of like there's no fun left in it for me.
Yeah. No, no, I agree. And like little things like adding the spin dash to Sonic One has been done. Like you can easily get that hack as well in multiple different places. And for me, it was just they're giving you Sonic 3, but the music is not there. So it's like a Sonic 3 but altered. It's not a Sonic 3 plus, it's a Sonic 3 minus. So why would you know, get hyped for that sort of thing? So for me, like I don't think compilations would deserve to be in a Hall of Fame regardless, but that one specifically has
No,
not got enough going for it in my eyes.
no,
Um,
not at all. Yeah, I
Sonic,
agree.
Sonic, what was it? Let me just because I Sonic, as we talk right now, they have just released Sonic Colors for Steam, and I'm going to get into that because that's
Yep.
one I've missed. I heard it was a strong Sonic game, but not exactly one that set the world on fire either. So these are.
I Again, I did play it till like 2 years ago. Strangely,
Mhm.
I've only recently played it myself. Because I had heard amazing things. Like everyone's always like, "Oh man, Colors is the game to play," and I played it, and I was like, "Yeah, it's alright. Like, there's nothing groundbreaking about it. There's nothing super fun about it either. Like, it's just okay. Like to me, it just reminds me of like Unleashed, and I'm just like, it's not really any. Like, I'm not seeing where the fun in this is
Yeah.
for it. And then of course when they redid it, of course none of it worked on consoles. So I never bought it for PS4 or anything else because there was all these bugs that came out with it. It was just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just not gonna
Yeah.
buy it really. Um,
But
all right,
yeah.
it's a better question. Instead of which one's your favorite, which one's your least favorite? Because I
Um.
feel like this becomes a bigger discussion in for Sonic games
Well,
because there's so many to hate for certain reasons.
yeah, and it's not just like my least favorite because there are two games to me that stick out that I just never finished. So for me, the ones that I never finished that stick out in my mind is Sonic Unleashed when I played that on the PS3, and
Yep.
Sonic Forces I just didn't finish because that game just didn't feel fun to me to play. Um, and so for me, Sonic Forces and Sonic Unleashed. Um, well, I'll expand on Sonic Unleashed. Is that um, the the werewolf scenes weren't that fun, and to get the unlockables to continue playing and get to the next level were a bit of a pain for me when I played it probably over a decade ago now. So once I realised that okay, I didn't make it to that level, I just didn't bother. So for me, that was something I didn't really enjoy. What's yours?
No, I agree. Sonic Unleashed is probably my least favorite. Uh, again, it was because of the whole. It wasn't like go through level per level. Like the werewolves, yeah, they are what they are. Like I'm not. They were fun at times, but again, generally speaking, they're not the most fun.
Yeah.
Um, but it was the collecting coins to get to the next stage. They put them in like I mean, where I was talking like Sonic Frontiers was too easy. Sonic Unleashed was too difficult. Like finding these coins were a pain. Like I had to look up guides to find some of them because they couldn't get enough coins to start the next level, and I was like, where am I going wrong? Like, and they were just like hidden so well. And,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I finished it just because I am one of those people like I will finish most Sonic games. I finished all the ones I played pretty much so far. But God, like yeah, Unleashed was a nightmare. Um, and that's the only one I truly don't want to play again, but I have heard it's better on other consoles, so I feel like I want to give it one
I
more shot at some stage.
Yeah, you saying that really makes me feel like, okay, it wasn't just me. There are other people out there as well, and
No, at least
um, but like I didn't know that there were other versions as well. So I think I will give that PS2 one a go because it probably is more streamlined and less rubbish around the edges that they had to put in for the PS3
yeah,
version.
they. I think the PS2. I think it's the PS2 one. I could be wrong about that, but I think they put in more speed levels and werehog levels as well. So generally, I think it was a better experience because the engine's amazing. Like mechanics wise, Sonic Unleashed has one of the best sort of speed levels as well
Hmm.
for it, but it was outputted with this stupid fight thing and all the medals, and it was just yeah,
Um,
hated
so
that.
the other game, what was is it Sonic Dark World? We haven't mentioned that at all. Um, I've is
What
it,
the
it
3DS as a DS?
I think it was it Wii U, and then they released it for PC as well.
Oh, the Seven Deadly Sins one.
Yes, that's it.
God.
Yeah.
Yes, hold on, I have it in my
Um.
library. I'll find it.
So
It
the
is Lost World.
Lost Worlds. Yes. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
close. The problem with that game, every time I try it, they don't have a good onboarding tutorial, and that game plays quite differently when compared to other Sonic games. And I end up just dying in the first two levels, and then it kills my enthusiasm. I'm sure there's a good game there. I would probably have to look up a YouTube video, but I don't really have a lot of
I,
experience with that to talk about it with any good sort of
yeah, I mean,
knowledge.
I love the idea of it, and I think
Mhm.
the idea again. This is kind of how like the difference between they tried something new and it just didn't work, unfortunately.
They played
Where they
Mario
took the concept
Galaxy.
of well, it's comes from like Sonic Extreme. If we're going back to like a cancelled game back in
Oh
like
yeah!
the '90s,
Wow.
basically, because
Yeah.
they made something very similar to this kind of style, um, and it like gameplay wise, it does work, but it's unfortunately just a bit too. I don't know. There's something missing from it that just doesn't kind of work. There was some levels I found I was having a lot of fun with, and I had other levels where I wanted to throw the controller through my TV.
Yeah.
Um, it just wasn't enough. I don't know. Something was missing with that game,
Yeah.
100%.
I feel.
And I think they've realised that.
Yeah. With Sonic games, it is quite difficult being a Sonic fan at times, because you never know
Tell me
truly
about
if
it.
it's going to be a good or bad game up until the release. And fandom these days are just getting quite toxic for just fandom in general, not just Sonic fans. Like Spider-Man Puddlegate and stuff like that. So a lot of the time when Sonic stuff happens, I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to ignore it until it comes out and then figure it out then. And it is like you know sort of like the battered ex-wife where you're just like he still loves me, he's gonna come back, he's gonna be good.
one
um
day, one day there'll be a game.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think Sonic Generations is the best choice out of 3D Sonic games, and I think that is a good choice to put in the Craig Bandicoot Hall of Fame. It's the first one. Congratulations to you, Sonic Generations. Um, I didn't.
Woo.
Did you play the DS Sonic Generations game, which is different from the console
Of
one?
course.
Yeah. What was that like?
Yep. Yeah. It was okay. Like
Yeah.
again, they tried to make it like I think they tried to do it like Rush. So it's like you have modern and classic Sonic.
Hmm.
Classic Sonic was great because it was just normal, you know, 2D worlds, and they did have different levels as well. So you
Hmm.
got like a couple levels from like Sonic and Knuckles and all that kind of stuff, which
Oh,
was
that's cool.
lovely. But the modern Sonic was very boring. It was whereas like in generations in PS3 it's fun because you can go as fast as you like, and you got the world or the level to explore really. In this it was like classic Sonic but with a boost button, and because of that you could literally just boost through the level without doing anything else. It was literally just hold the button and
Oh,
occasionally press jump.
okay.
um,
Okay.
so yeah, wouldn't recommend that.
W-
um,
we will classify specifically then Sonic Generations for the PS3 and Xbox 360 and PC. Thank you for your service. A truly good Sonic game. Um, Before we go, Josh, do you want to pimp your profiles? Where can people find you? Do you care that much? Don't have to if you don't want to. Choice is
Nah,
yours.
not at all.
No,
Yeah, you can see my tag. That's my Twitter.
there you go.
I don't promote anything, so
There you go. Good enough. Thank you. And thank you for being the first guest on my Craig Bandicoot podcast.
no worries. Hopefully, I'll come back.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. Wherever I am in the world, we have the technology. So I'm sure it will happen again one day.
Sweet.
Thank you. And thank you for your listening. Craig Bandicoot on all those platforms. See you next time. Goodbye.
See ya.
Wave. I hope you're waving.
Oh God, no, I'm not. I
Oh no.
can't wait.
God.